It's all mine.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're up.
Well, I had a speech for you, but it's on my phone, and I've decided to film. So I'm just going to try to remember what I can remember. But I really appreciate all of you here. First of all, if you don't know, my name is John. I am Donna's son, if you haven't recognized already, but it's good to see all of you here. Glad that you could all make it. Our mother was born August 23rd. I only made one of her birthdays, so I got to remember this. 1933. She grew up in Southwest City, Missouri, which is right down in the corner next to Arkansas and Oklahoma. And as I remember, she told me often that she graduated at the top of her class, and that's another story. We can talk about that at lunch, what went on with that. But after graduating from high school, she worked for the John Deere dealership in Southwest City, and it was there that she met our father. And according to the story, and it's kind of grown over the years, so I'm not sure exactly how accurate it is, that Dad said that he would buy a tractor if Mom would make a date. Is that right, Ann? Pretty close, right? And so the rest is history. They got married in 1953, in June, I think it was. And it was at that time, if I understand correctly, and Ann can correct me if she would like to, that they came to know the Lord. That the pastor said something to the effect, okay, you want to join us? Okay, all right, that's okay. That's fine, no problem. That he wouldn't marry them unless that they would come to know Jesus, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And they did, and of course they got married in June, and then they had 5 children, and we grew up on a farm there. And in 1966, that was before Mark was born, we had to move to Illinois, and that's where we spent the rest of our days there until Dad passed away. Dad is buried right over here, somewhere around here. Yeah, there you go. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Yeah, you can fill it in. Okay, I'm just kind of freewheeling here a little bit, but I would like to say this. This is, and I'm really condensing this. As I think about Mom, I think of 3 things that characterized her life. Number 1 was her love of Jesus. In all the years that I knew her, which was 72 years, I never, ever once saw her waver in her faith. And every time I would come home to visit, she'd say, you know, she said, we are here in this place because of the will of God. And I said, yeah, I said, that's right. I never really thought much about that, but recently I've been thinking about that. Her verse, there were many, and can tell you later when we have the luncheon, but I would quote John 3:16. If you know that, it says, what does it say? God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should have everlasting life. And our mother displayed that so much so that her great-grandchild said to her in her final days, she said, Grandma, Jesus is coming for you. And January 6th at 5:30, Tracy and my brother were there, and she went to be with Jesus. And that's what she said no, right, Meg?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that amen. I appreciate that. And Mom had a love for family. We were talking about this as we were coming down. None of us are perfect, and we all do things that probably later on we regret. Why did I do that? What was I thinking? The phrase of the day, right? But one of the things I remember about Mom and Dad, they loved us. And they did the best they could do. Was it perfect? No. There were times that I had arguments with Mom, especially with Dad. I almost walked home from St. Louis, Mark, when we came down to pick up your stuff. My dad and I had it out a little bit, and he said, do you want to walk from St. Louis? I said, well, I could probably use the exercise, but we worked it out. But Mom loved all of you. And not only that, she loved her friends. And that's why you're here. Grace was saying, I can't believe all these people are coming. And I go, I can. Okay. Because I knew my mom. She considered herself to be the mother of the neighborhood. Sometimes to the point of annoying me with that, okay? I said, well, how about us? Well, I got the whole neighborhood. I said, okay, good, Mom. And you know, one thing that I remember, Mom made some of the most delicious cookies. Is that right?
And pies. And pies.
My room was, where's our guy? Are we okay on time? Okay, good. You're gonna let me know, right? Okay. My room was downstairs. Mom and Dad had Uncle Fritzy build me a room downstairs. And every time as I go downstairs, I would check in the cookie jar to see what we had. Oatmeal, chocolate chip, and they were the best. Better than anything you can buy in the store, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll close with this because I'm sure you're all getting cold. But in 2020, Mom was 89 years old. Now, you all know that she valued her independence and her freedom. Fran knows about this. And I came back, I was late for her birthday, and she said, I want to renew my license. 89 years old, want to renew your license? I said, okay, all right, Mom, I'll take you tomorrow morning. She loved to go up to Lombard. And I said, okay, so we got up the next morning, and she got in the car. She would always get in the back. She would never drive while I was in the car with her. I was the one who got her started in '76, although Mr. Stone got the credit for taking her. But my dad didn't talk to me for 6 months. He said women shouldn't drive, and they shouldn't have a job, and they should stay in the kitchen. Is that right? Am I right about this? And I said, Dad, times have changed, okay? Now, Dad really appreciated that when Mom had to drive him up to Heinz Hospital, okay? She could drive. So anyway, Mom is in the back of the car, and I said to Mom, Mom, I want you to drive up to Lombard. She hesitated for a moment, and then she says, all right. So she got in, and she started driving. And then she started talking to herself. She says, I wonder if I'm in the right lane. I wonder if I'm going too fast. So we came to a signal, and I said, Mom, who are you talking to? And she goes, she hesitated, and she says, I'm talking to Jesus. And I said, okay. I said, that's good. So we came to the next signal, and she said, why did you ask? And I said, Mom, if you would have said that you were talking to yourself or talking to me, I would have told you to turn the car around and get back home. But since Jesus is riding with you, it'll be okay. So anyway, we drove up there, we got to Lombard. And I always did this when I take her up there, I'd give her the double thumbs. I don't know if Major Mike knows this, but in the Air Force, this means when you're good to go, when you're a pilot. Take it away, okay? And she would come out, and she came out and she goes like this, and I said, okay, good, you got your license. She said, the examiner said one thing. I said, what did he say? He says, well, a person who's 89 years old, it might not be too good of an idea to drive at night. And I thought, that's good advice. And then I drove home. Thank you for all coming. I think did we do good? We're